Good morning, seniors, or afternoon, or evening. I don't know when you do your work, but good, whatever it is. Um, it's Wednesday, so that means that you've got a close read on study thing to do today. You also need to make sure that you write in your journal, and you need to make sure that your no writing practice is done. If you already finished that on Monday, then you don't need to worry about that. Then I'm not talking to you. Make sure that you get another journal in. I think I already mentioned that. And make sure that your journal entries are about a page. It can be slightly less, that's okay sometimes. But I know some people are like, I don't really have anything to write about, so you write like one sentence or two sentences. That's not going to fly. So make sure that you're giving me a little bit more. If you're like, I don't have anything to write about, I didn't do anything. You don't have to write necessarily about what you're doing every day. I wouldn't have enough to fill a page some days either. You can write about what's going on in the world. You can write about thoughts and feelings instead of just what you're doing. You could write about some news articles that you're reading. You can write about what it is that you're watching, or what it is that you're reading, because I know you're all reading your choice reading books, right? Anyways, let's move on for today because I'm going to try to make this video shorter. Please make sure you watch the whole video because there are a couple of instructions that are only in here. So you need to make sure that you're watching this. Let's take a look at your close read really fast. I hope that you really enjoy this poem. It was pretty relevant to some of the events and things that are going on now, and maybe how you might be feeling about the news that we're not going back to school this school year for your final quarter. I know a lot of you are very bummed about that and pretty upset, and I would be too, so I understand where you're coming from. If you take a quick glance at some of the intro information here, the poet that we're reading is also from the Harlem Renaissance, just like not last week, but before spring break. The last poem that we read was also a Harlem Renaissance poem. This one is by, her name is Countee Cullen, and she wrote this very beautiful poem called Any Human to Another. Where she basically talks about sorrow and sadness and basically how it's part of the human condition and how that's not any one person's, they can't claim to be alone in kind of sorrow. It's something that belongs to everyone because everyone's kind of going through something. And I think it's pretty fitting for maybe how you're feeling now. You might be feeling like you kind of got the short end of the stick, and it's true in some cases, yes, but there's a lot of sorrow kind of to go around, and it's something that makes you human, and it's something that gives you kind of a shared connection to other human beings and to other people. So I thought that this was a pretty fitting poem for you guys to kind of read through, especially this week in particular. But just to kind of think about and to kind of reflect on as you're reflecting and thinking about your own recent experience and things like that. So a lot of the skill focused questions are about the theme of what this is trying to say, and also about some of the figurative language in here, because this is poetry. There are 6 skill focused questions that are on here. I just want you to choose 2, and you're going to do annotations and highlighting. So remember, if you're not familiar with that, if you haven't been keeping up with us, you can highlight things on here and you can type in your notes. This is where you kind of answer whatever particular question that you've chosen. You can put the question on here, like Q4 if you're doing question 4, and then your answer. And you can even use different color highlighting for the different questions that you're doing. So one of them could be in one particular color and the other in the other color, because you might need to highlight more than one thing per question. And then you're going to do the writing prompt. It's going to be different from the one I've got up here. I've got the preview. but I chose a specific one for your assignment, where you're basically going to say, okay, what is this poem trying to say? What's the point? And whether you agree or disagree with what the poet is trying to say. Do you think that she's right when she's talking about this human condition, or do you disagree in any way, and how can you kind of relate to this? And you have to write 1 to 2 paragraphs, and each of those paragraphs needs to be 8 to 12 sentences minimum. You know how to make complete sentences. Make sure you're using capitalization, punctuation. If you've got 2 independent thoughts, you can't connect them with just a comma, and you have to have something to separate them. Otherwise, you've got a run-on sentence. A lot of us have been neglectful of doing that recently in our writing. We've kind of stopped trying to make complete sentences. So make sure that you're doing that. This is still English class. Use complete sentences. I really look forward to kind of seeing what you get out of this poem. I think it's a pretty good one, and I think that it's particularly poignant in this time. So if you have questions, please feel free to let me know. We can get together on Google Meet, so you can email me. However you need assistance, I can definitely help you. That's all I've got, though. Have a good week.